what I usually do. Okay. Boom. Everything's rolling. That's awesome. Well, welcome to the North Idaho Experience. We have our guest today is Nancy, and we are actually going to talk about some alternative methods of cancer treatment that she is experiencing right now and kind of her process and her journey through that. I've asked my wife, Kristen, to be here because she's not from the cancer side, but from other illnesses. I don't know. What do you call it?
I don't know. Autoimmune, maybe.
She's done some of the same treatments that Nancy's done. So I thought it would be a good way to kind of talk about her experience in that as well. So diving right in. First of all, thank you for coming. I know it can be nerve-wracking. And it's a big deal to share a story like this. That's very personal, I'm sure, for your family. So thanks. I think it's important to get the information out there because we all know somebody that's affected by cancer in some way. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I like your approach because you're not solely relying on Western medicine. In fact, you're heavily the other way, I would say.
Right.
Which I think is important. I don't trust big pharma. I think most people don't. And so I think this is going to be a good conversation. So thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So give us the background. Like when did you discover this and how long have you been dealing with this?
Okay. So I got the diagnosis on May 1st as a result of a colonoscopy. And so really the stuff leading up to it, not knowing that this was in my body, I've just been dealing with digestive issues for years.
Yeah.
And trying to find answers for that.
And did you assume it was like a gluten intolerance or something? Have you gone down that path? I'm sure.
Yes. In 2007, I was diagnosed with a gluten intolerance. And so, I modified my life and just as time went on, there were still other issues. So I was always trying different things and reaching out to different holistic providers. And in 2022, I connected with a local holistic provider here, which we were focusing on the digestive symptoms. And actually that year, it felt like we were making some pretty good progress. But the last year, just the things that were working were no longer working.
Yeah.
And so that was what I was just moving forward with, trying to go deeper and see what else is going on. And then the symptoms, the common symptoms with rectal or colon cancer is bleeding. And so that actually showed up on a test before that happened. And then after the test, it was like boom, boom, one thing after the other. Yeah. So the gut mapping test was able to show what wasn't visible.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Was it just like a routine colonoscopy or was it in response to like, hey, something is probably going on?
Yes, it was in response to the gut mapping.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of just the routine checkups because of the invasiveness.
Yeah.
So I skipped my colonoscopy of a few years ago when they recommended it.
Yeah.
I was just, feeling like I'm doing a lot of things. I have not eaten like the average person eats for years.
Mm-hmm.
I eat a lot of organic and I preservative free, additive free, things like that. So I felt pretty comfortable.
Is there a hereditary component with that particular type of cancer? Do you know?
I think it varies with the type. From what I've been exposed to, it seems like it varies. That a lot of what I have read, it's kind of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. For myself, they offered to do a genetics test. And so the Lynch syndrome was a new word to me. And that is basically that my genetics are predisposed for the colon issues.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
So I think it's just different for every individual.
Yeah. Yeah. I've wondered that so much because, you'll see some people that get cancer and they live a totally clean life.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of people, especially in America today, obese, eat crap food all the time and they live to be 95 years old. And you're like, what's going on here?
I think, that's something that we're both we get frustrated with, because we both, for 15 years of eating, organic and mostly whole foods and eating very clean and taking out all the chemicals out of our home as much as possible. And we've done all these things, and we both, like, he has some digestion issues like acid reflux and different things. And I've been dealing with something for over 10 years that we can't figure out, and it's the same thing like you've been dealing with it, since 2007, being like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you do all these things and it's not getting better. And you're like, there's all these people eating crap out there and having Coke every day, and they seem to feel fine. What's going on here?
That's Coca-Cola, by the
way.
Oh, yeah. But when I was a cop, all the guys at work, because I was like very vocal about, eating pretty clean, but I would get sick all the time, and they were always like, "You're like the healthiest or the sickest healthy person." I don't know, one of the two. And I was like, damn it, like, what's going on here? And I mean, looking back on it, it was 100% stress related and shift work, because I don't experience that anymore. But it was kind of, it sucked. And then other guys would be like, they'd see me and be like, well, I'm not going to eat like that then, because it's clearly not working for him. And I'm like, no, like, there's still value in it. I fully believe in it.
That's very relatable. Just different details, but very relatable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, what's your normal diet consist of, and how long have you been?
Okay. Well, right now I'm kind of on a specific cancer healing, keeping the tumor contained diet. So it's basically meat that is, good quality, grass fed, that, not conventional, and low carb vegetables.
Okay.
And cooked, because of the digestive issues. I actually have other things going on in my entire, from my esophagus all the way down, that they discovered in the gut mapping and kind of confirmed in the colonoscopy. So my body doesn't digest raw vegetables too well right now. My gut flora is, on the last test, was primarily non-existent. So we're just trying to build things up and get my body so my immune system can kick back in.
Is that a function of the cancer, or is that a function of like an autoimmune, like an undiagnosed autoimmune? Like what happens with the gut bacteria or gut flora?
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting question that I'm asking. Because actually, looking back, I've kept my labs from when all this started back in 2007. Mm-hmm. Looking back, there was a test that indicated I had some compromised gut issues.
Like a leaky gut type thing?
Yeah, just like a little bit, and showed up. And then, but I just never really honed in on that, didn't understand it. And I think the natural medical community is still learning. Yeah. And especially back then, there was just still more to learn. So I think there's been a progression, but definitely from the gut mapping test from January to June, there was a big change. Mm-hmm. So, and I have read that this type of cancer can wreck the gut. And I think it's what comes first, the chicken or the egg situation. So I haven't found that answer at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So you were diagnosed in May?
Yes.
Of this year?
Yes.
So this is fairly recent.
Very recent. Yeah.
Okay. What, can we talk about that? What's that like was that a call? Is that a sit down with the doctor?
Oh, it was waking up from the colonoscopy, and he was letting me know.
Oh,
right
wow.
there.
Yeah. They were able to do a biopsy and get enough information to say there is cancer there. And then they sent the cells somewhere. They did more and kind of confirmed it more and gave a more thorough report.
Okay.
Maybe a week or so after that. So, so that was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
You're kind of waking up and he's telling you, and you're like, I was like, I don't know what other people would be like, but I was kind of like, okay.
What was your feeling like? All right, I'm ready to fight.
I think my feeling was more in the line of it wasn't even, this isn't real. It's just that, okay, we're just going to deal with it. I feel like I was kind of in the middle of we're going to fight, because I was also just believing that, I don't know, I can take care of my body and we can get this idea that our culture has. I was listening to something that kind of confirmed something I've been thinking about, is that the idea around cancer, we are conditioned to think of it in a certain way. And I'm not sure if I can actually articulate why I didn't buy into that and think of it that way when I was diagnosed. But, the way we're conditioned to think of it is it's this evil thing out to get us. And the reality is, now I didn't learn this until after my diagnosis, but I've just always had this feeling of the body, if we give it the right conditions, it can heal. And so I have just seen and read more information on that cancer is actually can be a positive thing to get that diagnosis, because cancer is kind of like the last line of defense for the body. And so we get the conditions right in the body so that the body can do what it was meant to do.
That's a good way to look at it.
And that is just like, that changes everything. At least it did for me. That I actually, when I was talking to the oncologist, he's trying to understand me and my approach and who I am and all that. And I basically told him I am way more afraid of the chemo than I am of the cancer.
Yeah.
And for that reason, because the body can heal it, where we know that the chemo just wipes out both the healthy and the unhealthy cells.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to go through. My mom went through it. Did your grandma?
My grandma did.
Yeah. And it's just like, it beats the body up.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
So you got the diagnosis. What's the first path that you went on once you had that?
Okay. Well, I had a scheduled women's Christian conference.
Okay.
And so my first thought was, I'm going with the intent to just surrender to the Lord and be healed.
No, that's great. Yeah.
And I, the Lord was good. And I just had a really good experience with him. And I'm just sticking to that he is with me in this, and that he has steps for me to walk through and go through, and that he has me.
That sounds like that was like amazing timing, actually, for it to be scheduled for.
Only the Lord could do that.
Right?
Yes. And there are a number of things that the timing in my situation have just been really a blessing and a lot of help for me in my journey.
Yeah. Okay. So then now you have the decision, right? Of do you go the Western medicine route, or do you go a holistic approach?
And you already have a holistic doctor that you're working with, right? So are you finding someone different that specializes in cancer on the holistic side, or are you sticking with that same?
Okay. That's been a journey too, of narrowing that down and figuring that out. So the doctor that I've been working with, she got me started on IV therapy. She just sent me to IVNV.
Oh, great place.
Yes, I love everybody there. And so, so I'm going into this totally green. I have no idea of any of the processes. So it's just been kind of a little bit trial and error, I guess, or just kind of fumbling my way through. So the conventional people send me to an oncologist. Dr. Sarah sends me to IVNV. And I'm like, just kind of sorting out the two sides and telling the oncologist right from the beginning, I really want to do as much natural first. So just hold on.
Right.
And then when I went to IVNV, they work with a naturopath over in Western Washington, and he oversees everything there. So I am working with my doctor, Dr. Sarah, with Optimal Living Institute. I'm working with Dr. Cochran, who oversees.
Yes, that's his name. Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, I can't think of it.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like building a team. So, they talk about in the conventional having your team. Well, my team just looks a little different. And so, and Dr. Cochran has worked under Dr. Anderson from Seattle, and Dr. Anderson and another doctor, which I'm not remembering his name. Anyway, wrote a book on outside of the box therapies for cancer. So they're really experienced, have a good track record, and really know their stuff. And both my doctor and Eric from IVNV both just have really high regards for Dr. Cochran. So, and I'm a person who likes to take personal referrals. Picking somebody off the internet with a few reviews is a little scary sometimes.
Yeah. Especially I found in the medical world, it's really actually hard to get personal referrals for people. And so you are kind of blindly looking, and then you have to try it for yourself. And
right. And because so many people have different ideas and thoughts around what actual medical help is,
right.
So, because I'm more of I like to research and know what is going to be happening to my body and what the possibilities are. And so I like to be aware. I'm not a person who likes to go in and just be told this is the way we do it and then just move through that process. With that, I don't know, I guess over my life I've seen a lot and heard a lot about.
I get very frustrated with Western medicine, and now I know it is great for a lot of things. I'm sure my life has been saved by it several times, but I just have so much distrust, and I think a lot of people do, because I can't remember the average time a Western medicine doctor will sit with you. It's like 11 minutes or something.
I don't know.
It's a small amount, and I have seen it in my personal life. Like they come in and they just have a huge workload, and they just what can I prescribe first of all. And then the monetary incentives for prescribing certain medications are there. It's not made up. It's real. So naturally, that's their first goal. Now, I've also been to a naturopath. Kristen sees one right now that's fantastic, and they spend a long time with you. They want to know everything.
Almost an hour or more every time. Yeah.
Well, and they go back into your childhood and things that prior to my exposure to holistic care, I'd never even was ever asked by a medical doctor or even considered, and then even in this situation with both the surgeon that I consulted with and I have 2 surgeons and then my 2 oncologists, they have not even asked or thought about any other part of my body.
Right.
So I have it brought up. I'm like, well, if I want to do the chemotherapy, my gut is a wreck. So my immune system is a wreck, which means that, the chemo is going to be worse. I mean, of course, maybe that's the case in a lot of cancer cases. I know the immune system is compromised and maybe that's normal, but it was just, I want that to be part of the discussion. Of what's going on with the rest of my body. Yeah.
If they're not asking what you eat and how much you're moving, they're not doing you a service.
Right.
By any means.
Right.
Because food, I'm a firm believer that food is medicine. I've seen it in my own life. When I adjust my eating patterns, I can solve a lot of problems.
Oh yeah.
I've always had my entire life, heartburn, acid reflux. And not until I went gluten-free for 3 years straight, I never had it ever.
Right.
And I slid away from that a little bit because you get busy and life happens, and damn, the pretzels at Back Pocket Bakery are so good. But, lately, very recently, I've been back on this path because I'm like, all right, this is not a normal. I don't want to take medication. I know I can fix it with eating. So I'm just, currently gluten-free, and I went dairy-free too, just in case. And I know that it will solve my problem.
And it takes time.
Right.
To see it change.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the hard thing, because a lot of people, especially nowadays, like, we want instant gratification, right? And it's easier to pop a pill than be dairy or gluten-free for, a month to see if it's going to work. But it pays off in the long run.
I'm like completely disgusted with the food out there right now that people eat and think it's okay to eat. That's banned in other countries. Our nephew, we were just visiting family, and our nephew was eating these, what are they, Takis?
Takis or something? I don't know.
Some kind of little chip thing. And they were this blue color.
Bright blue.
Unnatural, right? So I'm like, I'm just curious. And I look on the back, and there's like 12 different dyes in there.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
And then they wonder why the ADHD and all that is skyrocketing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a correlation here.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking my language. I feel like that's been one of my biggest frustrations through this, is just the whole fact of the food industry and what they produce out there as food.
Mm-hmm.
That is not food.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. It's like, how can humans even survive on what they're eating? I seriously wonder, like, when you think about the meat that people are eating, like, you're eat and it's protein, but are there any nutrients left in this meat? Like, if they're,
well, we're not really surviving well.
Well, that's true.
And,
with all the disease that's out there.
I was reading today that America is actually at a pandemic level of chronic disease.
Oh, I believe it.
But that's a pandemic we refuse to talk about, apparently, because
absolutely because you can't mask up for it.
Right.
Well, or it's like
a lot of people who are really rich would be losing a lot of money if we start talking about it.
People are making money on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people are making money on the back end when folks get sick, and now it's like, oh, here we can prescribe this medication, right?
I mean,
it's a fueled machine fueled by money. And it's disgusting.
Absolutely.
We have chickens, and just going back on the food thing.
So do we.
Yeah, the best thing ever. But if you compare even our Costco organic pasture raised eggs versus ours, the color of the yolk is different. And it's like, why?
So
and those are supposed to be organic pasture raised eggs.
It's because our chickens are happy. That's why.
Yeah,
that's right.
And well fed.
But it just, that shows you right there the quality of like what you're eating right there in the yolk, right?
Yeah. And I know, like, not all of these things are accessible for everybody, because it does cost. Although I'm rethinking this. It costs more up front, but really you're going to save yourself money down the line, because you're not going to be going to the doctor as much.
Yeah, one of my doctors had one of those signs on his wall. You're either going to pay for it now or you're going to pay for it later with health expenses.
Right.
So we don't get away from it. But, even if even if it's financially hard, there's choices that we can make. We can stay away from the blue.
Takis.
Yes.
Or whatever they're called.
We don't have to do
Cheetos.
that. You can shop the exterior of the store. And, just
touch on that more, because I don't know if everybody knows about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know about this, but I don't know if everybody else does.
Right. So, just the whole exterior of the store is, if you really think about any grocery store, that's where the least processed foods are. You're going to have your vegetables and your meats. Unfortunately, they put a bakery there, but you have to kind of walk past that.
How dare you tempt me with those donuts and all that other crap.
Right. And all the shelves in the middle are all the processed foods.
They are. Even the healthy foods are very processed.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a thing called living food and dead food, and so, we're living beings, and we're meant to eat food that is living, that feeds our body. And when we've just done, even with the health foods, when they've done so many things to create powders and refine and do this stuff, it loses the nutrients, it loses the life.
Yeah.
And so we're still putting dead food into our bodies, and there's a consequence to that.
Yeah. The marketing is so ridiculous. Like, you'll even see, like, keto bars or something, and it's like,
it sounds correct.
It's full of crap. Like,
what
is this?
Yes.
But even on I was thinking about this yesterday because I'm dairy free and I like this creamer for my coffee that's coconut and it has mushrooms in it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm like, okay, this has been sitting in a carton for how long? And, I mean, it's refrigerated, but in a refrigerator for how long? Like, are those mushrooms still providing any value to me at this point?
Right.
I don't know. I was just thinking about it.
Yeah, that's the layered superfood.
Yeah.
Well, you can go very deep into those thoughts, which I have a tendency to do. And, even like our produce, how long has it been sitting? Like Costco says when it was packed.
Right.
When you're looking at that organic cauliflower, in the fresh department, and it was packed 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And they say that vegetables start losing their nutrients the moment you pick them. So, it is a challenge to get nutrient dense.
Yeah, with our lifestyles now. And we, a lot of time, both, husband and wife are both working and we can't all have a garden and have, food growing in our yards. And it gets difficult. Or to even make all of those every day, like make food every day for every meal.
It's a lot. It's a lifestyle change for sure. And it's not really what the American life is designed for. Where, we have been, oh gosh, what did I read? That it only took 2 generations for them to give us all the conveniences so we don't know how to garden anymore, how we don't know how to can, and we don't know how to take care of ourselves anymore. We're completely dependent on the institutions, on the industries to feed us.
Which is terrifying on a number of levels. One, like the crap they're putting in our bodies. 2, if that chain gets cut off, which could happen very easily for a million different reasons, everybody's going to be in bad shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big factor. I know you guys live on land, right? So you probably have a garden.
We do.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of in the learning curve of that. So I feel like if something were to happen tomorrow, we're still in trouble.
Yeah.
But, we got chickens.
Can eat eggs, a lot of eggs.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, we have 18 chickens, so we get a lot of eggs.
Okay. That's what we have too.
Yeah. And,
we have 17 hens.
That's
One
true.
rooster.
Yeah.
I love our rooster. No, she wants to get rid of him. That's a different story. But
then that'll keep the chickens replenished if you need to.
Right.
I mean, because that's kind of what I'm figuring is my rooster replenished and gave me 12 new. Oh. That's why I have 18 right now, because I got 12 new ones this year.
Nice. Yeah. That's cool. I think there's a big push to kind of, at least with a lot of people that we deal with, to get back to some of those skills.
Yes.
Especially here in North Idaho, I feel like it's kind of it's part of the culture up here is to understand some of the older skills that we should not have lost. And
I think a lot of people got scared in the last little pandemic, seeing what could happen and how things can shut down, and grocery stores were starting to empty a little. And so I have seen a big wave of people wanting to learn some skills.
Yeah. We should probably get back on track.
Yes.
With
sorry.
No, it's all right. I love talking about this stuff. Okay. So tell us what you're doing for treatment right now.
Okay. Let me see my treatment. Okay. I brought my list because I always forget.
That's okay.
The things I actually have a checklist to remind me of all the things. So I mentioned the IVNV.
Yeah.
I'm doing a high dose of vitamin C twice a week and artemisinin, which it took me about a month to remember how to say it. And we're working on getting me set up to do mistletoe.
Okay. Is that all through IV? Those 2 things also?
The 2 things are the mistletoe will actually be sent to me and I will get to learn how to give myself injections.
Okay.
And so this has been a thing. I've had needle phobia pretty much all my life. So this is really, I have to overcome all this stuff.
So can you explain, or if you know what the 2, the high dose vitamin C and the other one, I'm not even going to try to say it, or what they're for and how they help?
Yes. Okay. So I think I can give you more of a general overview more than the detailed of each. But with both of them, so the vitamin C, and I did not know this about vitamin C, when the vitamin C creates hydrogen peroxide in our body, which is not good. But what it does, the hydrogen peroxide goes in and wipes out all the unhealthy cells. That's good.
Is that at high levels or at all levels? Do you know?
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Seems like at any level there'd be a little bit, but with the high levels, I'm sure it's putting a lot. But because my healthy cells are intact, my healthy cells then clear out the dead cells from the vitamin C and clear out the hydrogen peroxide.
Oh, interesting.
So it's this relational thing that's going on inside the body with the cells and the vitamin C. So artemisinin kind of has a similar, it doesn't produce the hydrogen peroxide, but it goes in and it leaves the healthy cells intact and it works on the unhealthy cells. So it's, and that at a kind of a, I guess, a higher level of understanding, that will be what the mistletoe will do too.
Okay.
But I have read the more specifics. I'm just not recalling.
Yeah.
So I actually have experience with the high dose vitamin C. Was it last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year I had some weird funky stomach bug thing that was bothering me for like 3 months. And I could not get rid of it. I tried everything and I just couldn't do it. It was so bad. And then Eric suggested I try the high dose vitamin C. And literally I had it done and didn't have any other issues from that day forward. It was gone.
Did you just have one?
Yeah, just one dose.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
If I recall, I think Eric said it was like 50,000 times the normal dose of vitamin C, like a normal high dose of vitamin C. It's like, it's a lot.
Like it's not something you could take.
You can't take. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And you have to get blood work done, right? So that
you have to check like your kidneys and different things to make sure your body can handle it. Yeah.
And then they're also, in the beginning, they test my blood sugar because that helps them know how much to give me. Once my blood sugar hits, is it 500? I think it was. I might be getting that number wrong, but when it hits a certain number, then any more vitamin C is a waste.
Gotcha.
So they use that to kind of get specific for what my body needs. Yeah.
Do you feel anything when you're doing do you do that twice a week?
Yes.
Does it feel like anything when you get it done?
Okay, the vitamin C, I don't really feel. The artemisinin is like, as soon as they put it in, I get this really wonky, bitter taste in my mouth, and I do get lightheaded. And so they usually do that first. And then the vitamin C takes about an hour to do. So by the time I'm done, then all the weirdness in my head from the lightheadedness is gone. And that's really it. Yeah. So artemisinin is actually an herb called wormwood.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're familiar with
I've
that.
heard of it. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's I think it's a Chinese herbal medicine. And I have heard that, just taking the root or the herb is just like ultra bitter. So that would be why I'm getting
Makes sense. Yeah.
Interesting.
the taste.
It's funny and this is how it was growing up for me. It's probably the same for you guys, but like there was this stigma around natural healing methods where you're like, oh, that's dumb. That's like some hippie stuff. But people for thousands of years have used these.
Right.
And then very recently, we've been brainwashed into thinking that it doesn't work or it's dumb and we have to go with Western medicine.
Well, my oncologist basically told me it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I thought to myself, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of evidence, there's a lot of research, and there's that it actually has benefit. So, yeah.
I should add, so IVNV, it's the letters IVNV. They're here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They're a nutrient infusion. can't remember how Eric puts it, but Eric Fody, he's a friend of ours. He's a paramedic firefighter and owns this business as well. And we've had him on this podcast before too.
One of the first ones, I
Yeah.
think. So if you go back and look.
Yeah. Check out that podcast with him. It was very informative because we did talk about this. We talked about a lot of, yeah.
Okay.
He's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
Yeah.
And he's a badass.
Yep.
Yeah. I can attest to that when he comes in and does his own IVs.
Yeah. Okay. So what else you got that going on?
Okay.
What else are you working on?
So I have that. I take a boatload of supplements to support my different systems. Because some of the side things going on is my thyroid is kind of out of whack and different things like that. So, so I'm on a lot of that, turmeric to fight inflammation, just a lot of the things that if you're familiar with the holistic approach is pretty common. So let me see what else here. So detoxing is an area of, thing that I'm working on. So as far as outside modalities, that's kind of it. Everything else is just things that I'm working on and doing, like the detoxing. And this has actually helped me realize that any amount of detoxing that I was doing was really kind of wimpy and minimal. And so I'm really in the process of really ramping that up.
What are you doing for that?
Okay. So I once a week I go do a sauna.
Yep.
Get my skin organ.
How long are you going for?
About an hour.
Oh, in the sauna?
Yeah.
Oh my
Dang.
gosh.
Till I'm just pouring sweat.
How hot is it?
Oh gosh, what does she set it at?
Is it a traditional sauna or is it a red light or
Infrared.
Traditional.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you're a
So-
beast if you can do that. Oh my gosh. I max out at like 20. I don't even know if I've gone 30 minutes before, and then I cold plunge after.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I've always been kind of cold blooded, so anything warm is
Yeah.
like, give me more, give me more.
That's awesome.
So things like oil pulling, dry brushing. I've been learning about breathing exercises and realizing that I'm not a deep breather. And so just kind of when I think of it, just do some of those exercises. I've always known what hydrating is good. And, when I think of it, I'll do it. So I'm working on that. I have 2 quarts of water that I fill with like lemon or lime. And then I have some things that, supplement drops and stuff that I put in for electrolytes and stuff. Because hydration, if we're not hydrating, we're not detoxing. So castor oil packs, doing those right now. I'm taking a little break because I just want to feel normal. I do it at night and basically just put the castor oil over my gut. And then
Do you do it like on a fleece or thing and then lay it over?
a whole fleece thing, lay it over, and then I just kind of put some covering over it to protect my sheets and stuff, and sleep with it. I have seen where people say do it 1 or 2 hours, and that's been beneficial. But the whole night, I just feel different in the morning in my gut.
Okay.
So I notice a difference, and so that's been kind of a new thing for me this year. And it's sometimes some of the symptoms I have, I just have little episodes with my liver, and like if it's kind of, I don't know if it's clogged up. We've never been able to identify what it is, but I get these, it just kind of puts me out for a little bit, just lays me out. And it's been a while, but probably, well, it was before the diagnosis that I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I put this on. And this would usually take me a day to 2 or 3 days to kind of work through it. And within 2 hours, I felt more normal than I normally would. So I'm like, I'm a believer in that, in that castor oil. So detoxing, there's so many ways we detox. I've done some, like some colon therapy, and doing a little bit of frequency. It's something I'm kind of learning about, Rife frequency thing. I'm kind of been starting that. And probably a big detoxer for me is the mental and emotional.
That's a huge component, huh?
It's gigantic.
Yeah.
And for some of us more than others, just working on my mindset and working on my internal dialogue. And as I've been working on it, I've been realizing just how negative it's been. And I didn't realize quite the level of negative internal dialogue that I had. And so, something I read said that our cells listen to our thoughts.
Yes.
And that's kind of scary.
Sure. Yeah. If you pay attention to your thoughts, this is something, I've worked on for sure. I go through phases and I'm just like, every 5 seconds, it's like, no, turn that thought back around. You know what I mean? Right. Catching yourself in the beginning, you're like, geez, what is wrong with my head?
Well,
that's right.
It's very easy to adopt like the victim mentality, like why me?
Yeah, I did that at a very young age.
Right. It's super common. A lot of people do that. And I think it's important, we try to teach our kids not to have, right? That like, you don't have to be a victim, right? Take ownership of whatever and move forward and have a positive attitude about it. Yes. I think that goes a long way.
It's one of the hardest things though, because sometimes we all want to be angry if something happens and this is just like an outside thing, not necessarily inside either, but you know what I mean? When something happens, you're like, just let me be angry. And you'd feel better if you like flip that mindset, right? But you just want to live in the anger for a second or be upset in a second. Yeah. There's been times where I've told him that and he's like, just let me be angry.
I want to have my little temper tantrum, my little baby temper tantrum, and then I'll get over it.
Get it out. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the people who repress their emotions and anger and so unaware of the need to be angry. Like, and so that's something I've also realized is like, wait, I've been just kind of like bottling this up. And so I need to unbottle it, feel it, deal with it, and let it go, or feel it and do something different.
Right.
And so they do say that people who bury or repress their emotions actually it comes out in the body more.
You are speaking my language. As a former first responder, that is the culture of just bottling all of the stuff that we see up into a tiny little spot inside, right? And a lot of guys live their entire career that way and they don't ever let it out.
Right.
And then they pay for it at the end.
Right.
So are you working on this by, with yourself, or are you getting therapy, or are you doing anything outside?
I'm largely doing it by myself, but I also have some really great people in my life, in our church community, and kind of our minister or just a friend that has ministered to me and her focus is her focus is healing the family, but she through that focus she addresses our internal things. And so, so when we chat about things, she addresses some of those things with me and gives me some thoughts and ideas and my friends too. And so for me, I'm just really blessed to be around people who understand that, because otherwise I would definitely be looking for some professional.
Right. That's good. I think having some help.
I've also, being a researcher, I've also been a fan of Cloud and Townsend of the Boundary Books. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. Christian counselors, and they really address a lot of emotional things. And so I just try to glean things that way too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How are you, because we just talked about this, how are you tying in Western medicine? Because you aren't turning that off, right? That's a component of what you're working through.
Right. And in my situation, the tumor is really on the verge of becoming very dangerous. So I'm trying to just tread very carefully between the two. And Cause like I said, if I had my way, I would do it 100% natural. But because, this tumor is not too far from the possibility of metastasizing, I've been considering which direction I want to go. So the options of conventional are surgery, chemo, and radiation. Sometimes you can get away with one, two, or sometimes you have to do all three. Initially, I just want to keep all my body parts. So I was really focused on, okay, if I do this with natural help, maybe I can do the chemo. And they're like, yeah, you're going to need to do the chemo and the radiation. And when I talked to my naturopath, they're like, and where the location of the tumor is, the radiation would really damage a lot. And so he told us that he wouldn't recommend that, and he would recommend the surgery. So that just happened last Monday. So this last week I've been processing that, and I actually feel a peace about that. And so I'm doing my research right now with the idea of doing surgery and then getting the tumor out so that we can just then focus on healing my body, because my body is still going to be producing cancer cells.
Right.
And so we want to get to the root of that. We want to get my body to turn around and my immune system to work the way it's supposed to work. And that will give me time to do that.
Right.
And my goal is then to skip the radiation and chemo.
I like it.
So
yeah, I think that's a good strategy. What would you do different prior to your diagnosis? Like if someone were out there and like, what should I do?
Okay. So this is something I've thought about, and you can not hang on to regrets, but in 2019, I did have a conventional provider really, really pushing me to do the colonoscopy. I didn't think I need to, so because I'm doing all these natural things, but I look back on that would have given me, because it would have been there, and that would have given me more time to do the natural. So in my specific situation, I would probably go do that. At the same time, I do feel like I'm having some, from the colonoscopy, I am dealing with some after effects of that. So not everybody does, but some people do. So, there still is that risk that I was concerned about. But that might be that would probably be something I would do different, knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think having that prior knowledge, paying attention to your body and.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things I'm learning with the different resources that I'm kind of digging into about cancer and just things that lead to cancer is a lot of these autoimmune things, if you look at them, that is a piece of it that they lead to cancer, which kind of falls back into that cancer is the last line of defense. And so felt over the years, I felt good enough. And so that would probably be another thing, is I would go back and be a lot more aggressive and not just kind of feel good enough with the symptoms I was having over the years, with thinking, oh, it's just a digestive thing. Oh, it's just, this. I would go back and really dig in and get to the root of it, because we're not meant to have digestive problems. There is something going on there. The body is telling us and talking to us all the time. And the digestive issues is one way that it tells us that something is off in the body.
I think it's so hard, because this is kind of what I've been dealing with for a long time now. And I've seen so many doctors. I've seen naturopaths. I've seen, Western medicine doctors, and I've done every lab you can think of. And, things might be a little wonky, but they don't make sense.
Yes.
And nobody can get to the root cause.
Right.
And it's not my lack of trying. I'll go through a period where I'm like, I had one of my last doctors basically throw their hands up and say, I don't know what to do with you anymore. Basically, I think maybe you're just depressed and creating your own symptoms.
Oh man.
And it's like, I can guarantee you that's not the issue. Like these are real symptoms. These are happening.
Right.
But that knocked me out for like 2 years of not investigating because
I can understand that.
she made me feel like a crazy person.
Right.
So, it's like, how do you, it's like I said, this has been well over 10 years now. And it's like, for the people out there looking, it's like, unless you get lucky or, with a great doctor or something, how like,
well, one of the things I've learned from my husband is talk to everybody about everything.
Yeah.
Because that man comes home with all kinds of resources because he does that. So that's one thing. But now this is probably theory on my part, but something that I learned in this process that I think has a lot of value is the detoxing. And so when the resources that I look at, a lot of the let me see here if I can have my notes here. So the things that and I think this is for everything. I don't think this is just cancer. So some of the things that compromise our body, and I'm going to just kind of list them off real quick here, is malnutrition at the cellular level, and that related to diet and just a whole bunch of things, but acidic pH, low oxygen in our body, fungus and mold, chemicals and heavy metals. And so I was introduced to a colonic specialist. He and what I learned from him really led me to the idea that if we can get the toxins out of our body has a fighting chance. And so he's actually, his name is Dirk Yao, and he's going to be here in this area. He lives in southern Idaho. He's going to be in this area on September 11th and speaking for Healing Strong CDA, which is a cancer or chronic health support group. And he studied in Germany, and he has spent his life just on the science of the body and the healing and this. And I think he said he's done over 70,000 colon sessions, colon cleansing sessions. And at the beginning of my journey, I went and did 3 sessions with him. And it was amazing the things that came out of my body.
Can you explain what that, I think Kristen's done that.
I've done that.
Yeah. Can you explain what that is for those that don't know?
Okay. So, now I've never done a colonics or colon cleanse before, so I don't know how his differs from others, other than when he cleanses it, he uses the iodinized, ozone. So purified water that's I'm losing.
It is iodized.
It is iodized. Okay, sorry. My husband was with me and he helped me kind of remember all this. So he uses a special process that he learned in Germany that is not a common process here. But the colonics is, just cleaning out the colon. Sometimes it's done with herbs and, sometimes even coffee and just different things to help cleanse the colon. What I learned from Dirk is that culturally is a process that has been done for thousands of years, and we have lost that in our culture. We don't even talk about cleansing our colon. It's kind of becoming a thing in the natural holistic community. But Dirk definitely takes it to new levels. I actually watched heavy metals coming out of my body. I could see them in the tube. Scar tissue came out. I could see that in the tube. And so I'm definitely, we decided in my particular situation that I probably need to hold off just because we don't want to disturb the tumor. But after my surgery and I'm healed, I'm going back for more. I'm getting all the junk out of my body, so my body has.
So how
a fighting
recent was it
chance.
that you did that with him?
I did that in June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you did. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I think any kind of colonics is going to be helpful. I'm just getting a little partial to his just because of my experience with him and just what he shared with us and just his knowledge. He also did like manipulation, and he was able to identify that I had a lot of scar tissue on my diaphragm, which I was thinking about when you mentioned how during the stress, you hold it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that causes scar tissue is what he taught me. And so he was, able to just identify different things that were going on with my organs that other people weren't actually able to identify.
I think I want to try that. I feel like I've been exposed to all sorts of nasty chemicals from being a cop for a long time and, construction work. And
right.
I'm very curious to try that. I think I will do that.
Right.
From our original conversation, because we met for coffee a couple of weeks ago, I think maybe you cued me in and inspired me to get my diet back on track.
Oh, good.
So, so thanks. Yeah. Because sometimes you need that little reminder of
absolutely.
Hey, yeah, this is like having acid reflux all the time. Like, that's not normal. And if I leave that unchecked, it's going to be a problem down the road.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for that. And hopefully somebody else out there is listening and it's like, oh, yeah, maybe I should do something. And I think you've given us a lot of resources to do that. Any other final thoughts? You have a lot of notes. Did we touch on everything you wanted to touch on? Oh, I had a question. So all of these treatments are not cheap, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
I know the vitamin C, because she just did it one time and it was expensive. And it's not that IVMV is a great business. It's not that they're overcharging.
Oh, no,
it's
not
that
at all.
These things just cost a lot of money. Vitamin C costs a lot of money to do.
Right.
Does insurance pay for any of this?
Absolutely not.
Isn't that crazy?
Right.
Why?
And well,
we know why.
Do we want to get into that?
Question.
There's no money in it for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Huh?
So yeah, it is very expensive. It's actually just and you're right that he is not overcharging at all. And we actually had a conversation with him, and his margins, especially on the medicinal stuff that I'm taking, is very, very thin. Mm-hmm. And so and he's doing everything he can to make it as affordable as he can, and it is still a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I mean, is it okay if I mention how much?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, between the therapy and all the supplements I'm taking right now, it's about an additional $4,000 a month.
Yeah,
for me to do this. Lot. And we do, and the thing is that adds to the how are we going to do this? It's not like for 3 months or 6 months. It's until I'm healthy. Mm-hmm. And that could be in 3 or 6 months, or that could be a year or 5 years.
Right.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. And a lot of the testing that's out there, that's not typical, whether it's labs or whether it's some sort of scans, those are all not covered with insurance either.
Not.
Yeah.
No, the other, like the gut mapping, and then just
or food sensitivity test or any of those things, right?
Or to do, because when I go to conventional medicine, they check, the insurance will only allow them to check a small number of things. When I do a blood panel, I get 4 pages of things that they check. So, and so these tests are $300 and $400 a shot.
Right.
And, and so there's probably more I could be doing in that realm, but we're just trying to keep it down. And so, it's really for people who want to do this more naturally. It is, that's a whole nother piece of it to, how can we do this?
Right. Right.
So
do you guys, and you guys have a GoFundMe? Is that how
we do?
Okay. We'll put the link to that in the description for the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'm sure people are out there and they've experienced it and maybe they want to help, or, like they've been inspired by your story, because it takes a lot of bravery to come out here and talk about it. It's a very personal thing, I think. So definitely, if anyone is out there wants to help, do it. And, also, if you're out there and you have questions, because we talked about a lot of stuff, you can shoot me an email or a message on YouTube, and I'll get you connected. Are you open, Nancy? Are you open if someone had questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Very,
cool. I figured
very
you
open.
might be.
Yeah.
Because that you could be a great resource for somebody out there going through the same thing.
Right. And I do. I love to share my resources. I love to just, point people towards something that might be helpful for them, or, it might be a stepping stone for something else.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you again for coming on. Like I said, you already inspired me. So
all right.
Now I gotta go find somewhere to get my colon cleansed. So
yes, you do. Well, come see Dirk on the 11th and
is he gonna
talk
be
to
up
him.
here?
He's going to be giving a talk at Healing Strong.
Okay.
Coeur d'Alene, and he's going to be sharing just what he does and how it helps.
And his clinic is in Southern Idaho, you said?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a drive, but it is worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely kind of a different deal from what I understand. And it'd be neat if we could get somebody trained in it up here.
Yeah, that would be great.
Heck yeah. Yeah, now I'm curious. So I'll make a video about it when I go do it, so everyone can see.
I don't know if anyone wants to see that, but
well, there's parts you could video the stuff coming out, because
there you go.
I do have pictures of that, and I do find that a lot of people are interested.
Yeah.
In seeing my heavy metals.
Yeah. Right. Maybe some gold would come out. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, and the neat thing is Dirk is able to identify it from the colors. He said there's a bit of mercury, formaldehyde, and I always forget what the other thing was.
That's wild.
And the thing about him that was interesting too is when I was getting to know him and he was just kind of getting to know my situation, he asked where I grew up. And that was in the Carson Valley, not far from Carson City. And he was just immediately was like, oh, mercury is really common there because of the mining. So hence all the mercury coming out,
That's crazy.
There's so many other places, but he said that a lot of the toxins get stuck in our bodies and don't come out. And we've moved on, but the toxins haven't.
Yeah.
And
well, if you think about that with the intestines, right? It's just a bunch of like small little crevices and wrinkles.
That's right. It gets stuck there. It gets stuck in our liver, our gallbladder, our kidneys. It gets stuck in our lymph system. It's just wherever the toxins can find their way to stay.
So crazy.
Yeah, man, it's so important to live a healthy lifestyle because this body's the one we get. And you got to make the best of it, right?
Yeah.
I think, for example, I have almost not at all used sunscreen this year.
No.
This is very recent for me. I'm like, this is like putting this chemical on, and I don't have hair on my head, so I have to be very careful about getting sunburned. But I've had no problem this year. I'm doing responsible sun management. And,
getting out of the sun.
I will get sun because vitamin D in the sun is super important, but knowing when to cover up and just put a long sleeve on or put a hat on, and I've been fine.
Well, and they say our skin is our largest organ. Yeah. And so when we're lathering that up between that and the hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah. I don't use that.
And just the chemicals, that's a whole nother thing on the detoxing part is the chemicals we're putting into our body with our skin care, our laundry care, and even with what we're washing our dishes with, and
I just had a clean out of our stuff this last month, and I've done it before, but we kind of fell back in because laundry for me is the hardest thing to use natural, laundry detergent.
Doesn't smell as good.
And this guy with jiu-jitsu, it's hard to clean his stuff. And so that's where I'm struggling. So my kids, when they saw me doing that again, were like,
okay, so lemon essential oils and vinegar added to your soap will wipe those things out.
Okay, we do the vinegar, so I'll try the lemon.
Yeah. I usually just depends on what it is and how stinky it is. Yeah. As far as how much I do. And we haven't had an issue when I do that. And then also if you have a front loader, it's a mold thing. So I always leave it open. He actually just changed out the
sill,
the
Oh,
river
yeah.
trim because I was trying to keep it dry and there's still mold in there.
Mhm.
And then mold is one of the things that causes illness in our body.
Mhm.
So, and that's a thing to just in the home. And did you know that mold is in the foods like coffee?
Oh yeah.
Coffee grounds is known for having mold, and we're eating it, peanuts and things like that. So, and even grains like the wheat and corn are two grains that are known for hosting mold. And we eat in our culture, we eat that every day, multiple times a day.
Not anymore.
Good for you. Well, and in this day and age when we have paleo and all these other options, there's so many great alternatives. Like when I started going gluten-free in 2007, anything I found in the store was like eating cardboard.
Yeah.
So it was awful.
It's improved a lot
But
now.
oh my gosh, paleo is amazing.
Yeah. And I think that because one thing we struggle with too is, like I said, we've done this whole eating really well thing for a while now, but we always fall off for a little bit. And it's always that mindset, like you only live once, I want to enjoy it, but then you start feeling like crud again. And then you're like, oh, I got to get back on it. And it's like, it goes back to, you only have one body.
Yeah.
But there are good, like what'd you make yesterday? Those muffins?
Zucchini chocolate muffins. I don't know. They're dairy-free, gluten-free, and they're made with maple syrup for the sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Him and my son were like gobbling down.
You can't make those often because I could not stop myself. But
yeah.
So there are good options out there.
There are good options.
Homemade, whole foods.
And then it's just the discipline, because I think one of my downfalls over the years was, so the paleo started coming into, I can eat paleo every day.
Right.
No.
Like paleo baked goods or snacks. Yes. That's the thing.
Doesn't mean they're healthy in that way, right?
Right.
You can
It's
still
still
get fat.
sugar.
Yeah, it's still sugar. Right.
Yeah.
Or excess calories or whatever.
Yeah.
That's one thing we definitely fall into the trap of. And I see that like any diet we go on, I could make your heavy whipping cream. I don't know what you call it.
It was like a chocolate mousse with heavy whipping cream and stevia and cacao powder. And it's like legit.
But it's a huge fat bomb, right? But
right.
You can eat a lot of it. And I can't even imagine how many calories are
Right. Okay, so I'm really good at this justifying thing. So if it's raw dairy,
grass-fed,
good fat.
Yeah.
That's good fat for our body.
Totally.
And
that's what we were thinking,
the
right?
justification I went through.
Right.
Yeah.
But moderation is still key.
It's still moderation. Yeah.
Still working on that component. Yeah.
I relate with that.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. This has been a good conversation.
It's been
I
fun.
want to check back in like 6 months and we'll do it again and see what the progress is and how all these treatments are working. So
all right.
Cool.
I'm planning on having a good report.
I think you will. Thank you,
Okay.
Nancy.